When I got falsely accused, my brother started a smear campaign to throw me in jail. My parents called him a hero for protecting the victims, so I made them regret it. Now they are begging me. Sup, Reddit. My brother tried to bury me after I was falsely accused, screaming, "Rot in prison." My parents disowned me, calling me a predator. I, 38 male, run my own electrical contracting business and teach basic electrical safety courses at Riverside Community College twice a week. Not exactly glamorous, but I clear six figures when the commercial jobs are rolling in, and the teaching gig keeps my skills sharp. Plus, the college pays $75 an hour for 2 4-hour sessions. Easy money. The whole nightmare started on a Wednesday, when the department head, Vincent, called me into his office after my morning session. I figured it was about the new curriculum they wanted to implement for fall semester. Maybe a pay bump. Something normal. Vincent was sitting there with Dr. Helen, the student services director, and some college attorney whose name I didn't catch because I was too busy reading the room. The vibe was funeral home wrong. Too many serious faces for a scheduling conversation. "James, thanks for coming in." Vincent had his hands folded like he was about to deliver bad news about a terminal diagnosis. "We need to discuss some allegations that have surfaced regarding your conduct at the Skills USA competition last month." My brain immediately went to red alert. What allegations? 2 students have filed separate reports claiming inappropriate physical contact occurred during the competition weekend in Sacramento. Given the serious nature of these claims, we're placing you on immediate administrative leave pending a full investigation. I stared at him like he'd sprouted a second head. "What competition?" "Skills USA Regionals, April 12th through 14th in Sacramento." "I wasn't at that competition." Dr. Helen leaned forward with this practiced counselor voice that made my teeth hurt. "James, I understand this must be shocking to hear. These situations are always difficult, but what's most important is that we take student safety seriously and ensure proper protocols are followed." "I wasn't at the competition," I repeated, slower this time. "I was on a job site, running a 3-phase installation at the new medical complex downtown. I can pull the permits, the inspection reports, everything." Vincent's expression didn't shift. "We'll review all documentation as part of the investigation process, but given the consistency of the reports and the severity of the allegations, we feel immediate suspension is the appropriate response." "Consistency of what reports?" "I wasn't there. I didn't go to Sacramento. I was 70 miles away running conduit through a hospital that has security cameras on every floor." Vincent finally said, "Your name is on the trip roster." Like that was checkmate. I told him the roster was wrong and offered to prove I was on a job site the entire weekend. Nobody even pretended to care. The attorney finally spoke up. "Some rehearsed corporate nonsense about liability and proper procedure. We need you to collect your materials and exit campus today. Someone from HR will be in touch about next steps." That's when I understood. They'd already decided. Evidence was just an inconvenience that might complicate their neat little narrative. Can I at least know what I'm specifically accused of? "Student privacy laws prevent us from sharing details without signed releases," Dr. Helen said smoothly. "But the nature of the allegations warrants immediate action." I wanted to pull out my phone right there and show them the work orders, the signed inspection documents, the time-stamped photos I'd taken of the installation for the project file. But something about how they were all sitting there in this unified wall of bureaucratic certainty told me it wouldn't matter. They'd chosen their story. I was just the obstacle. I cleared out my desk in 15 minutes. Grabbed my tools, a couple of reference books, some flash drives with lecture materials. The whole time I kept thinking about April 12th. I remembered that weekend perfectly because the hospital job had been a nightmare. Critical path work with inspections scheduled for Monday morning. I'd been on site from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, supervising a crew of 4 guys while running the rough-in myself on the surgical wing. My back had been killing me by Sunday night. I'd gone home and soaked in a hot bath for an hour. I had permits with my signature, inspection reports, progress photos, daily logs, 4 electricians who'd worked alongside me the entire weekend. My phone had probably pinged off the hospital's cell tower 200 times over those 3 days. 10 minutes of checking records would have cleared this up instantly. They didn't want to check. I called my parents from the truck. My dad answered on the second ring. "They're accusing me of something that's physically impossible," I said. No preamble, no drama. 2 students claim I did something at a competition I wasn't at. They suspended me. My mom got on speaker. Her voice had that edge she gets when she sees an opportunity. "What exactly are they saying happened?" "They won't tell me specifics, but they said it was at the Skills USA competition in Sacramento. I was working the hospital job that entire weekend." There was a pause. Then my dad. "Do you have proof?" Signed permits, inspection documents, work crew witnesses, site photos, everything. Then we'll handle this, he said. But his tone wasn't reassuring. It was calculating. Come by the house tonight. We need to discuss strategy. That night, I pulled every piece of documentation I had. Permits with my signature as the license holder on site. Inspection reports from 3 separate walkthroughs that weekend. Hospital security badge logs showing entry and exit times. Crew statements. Progress photos with timestamps. Everything organized, chronological, airtight. Proof that didn't just suggest innocence, but demonstrated physical impossibility. I wasn't in Sacramento. I was 70 miles away on a job site that left a paper trail any first-year law student could verify in 10 minutes. I sent it all to Vincent at midnight with a subject line. Documentation, April 12th to 14th hospital job. He never responded. My brother Brandon called me Thursday morning at 8:30. I was still half asleep, but we'd grown up in the same house and shared the same last name, so I figured blood would count for something. Then I remembered. Brandon had always needed to be the better son. When I started my business at 26 and bought my first house at 28, he'd spent Thanksgiving dinner explaining to everyone how real careers required advanced degrees. When I paid off my truck in cash, he'd made some comment about how blue-collar money didn't build generational wealth. Our parents had always favored his corporate trajectory over my trade work, the MBA from state, the nonprofit job title, the community leadership nonsense. He'd been posting ally content on social media for 2 years, mostly performative threads about accountability and believing survivors. His career had stalled after getting passed over for director twice. He needed a cause. I just didn't know I'd become it. Brandon, thank God. Did you hear what's happening? The college is trying to... I can't talk to you right now. His voice was cold, professional. I'm meeting with the college administration this afternoon. I wanted you to know that Karen and I are taking this very seriously. Taking what seriously? I wasn't even at the competition. I have documentation showing I was on a job site the entire weekend. Permits, inspections, crew statements. I have to go. He hung up. I tried calling back. Blocked. Tried texting. Blocked. I sat there in my truck staring at my phone thinking maybe I'd misheard. Maybe he needed time to process. Maybe the college had fed him some nonsense that made him cautious. Then I got a text from my Uncle Paul. Did you see what Brandon posted? Call me. Brandon had sent something to the extended family first. A private message to my parents, my aunt, a couple of cousins. Uncle Paul forwarded it to me. Professional language about serious allegations and supporting the investigative process, and how he couldn't in good conscience maintain contact until the facts were established. Cold, measured, but unmistakably a line drawn in the sand. That was the warning shot. 6 hours later, the family group text exploded. Brandon had posted a message that felt like getting stabbed in the chest. I've been informed of credible allegations against James involving students at Riverside Community College. After meeting with college officials and carefully reviewing the information they provided, Karen and I believe the students who've come forward. We will not be maintaining contact with James, and we strongly encourage the family to prioritize the safety and well-being of the young people involved in this situation. I read it 4 times, trying to make the words say something different. My mom responded first. We support you both. This is heartbreaking, but necessary. My dad. Agreed. Some things are more important than family loyalty. You're a hero for standing up for the victims. My cousin Sophia. Wait, what? Has anyone talked to James? My Uncle Paul. This is insane. You're condemning him without hearing his side? I started typing a response. Deleted it. Started again. Deleted it. What the heck was I supposed to say? That I wasn't there? I'd already told Brandon that. He hadn't cared enough to look at the proof before declaring me guilty to everyone we knew. I tried calling my dad. Voicemail. Tried my mom. She answered, but sounded like she was reading from a script. James, honey, we've discussed this extensively with Brandon. He's shown us the college's concerns, and we believe the proper course of action is to step back and let the investigation proceed without family interference. Family interference? I'm trying to show you evidence that I wasn't even there. Sweetheart, we're not investigators. We're not qualified to evaluate evidence. What we can do is support the process and ensure that victims feel safe coming forward. Victims of what? I was on a job site 70 miles away with 4 witnesses and a stack of inspection documents. Your anger right now is understandable, but it's not productive. We love you, but we need to think about the broader implications. Broader implications of what? Destroying an innocent person because it's easier than checking basic facts? She sighed like I was being difficult. We'll talk when you've calmed down. She hung up. By Thursday night, Brandon had posted something on social media. My Uncle Paul screenshotted it and sent it to me before my mom made him delete his number from the family contacts. Some long manifesto about believing survivors even when it costs you relationships, about how real accountability requires sacrifice, about choosing what's right over what's easy. 300 likes within 2 hours. Comments calling him brave, calling him a real ally. Not one person asked if he'd verified a single fact. Friday morning, the college sent the termination letter. Effective immediately. Corporate language about maintaining safe learning environments and making difficult decisions in the interest of student welfare. I'd taught there for 4 years. Helped design their entire electrical safety curriculum. Had a 98% student approval rating. Never had a single complaint until 2 kids who'd never been in my class suddenly remembered I'd molested them at an event I didn't attend. They fired me in 3 paragraphs. My landlord sent an eviction notice the following Tuesday. 60 days to vacate. Apparently, there's a morality clause buried in the lease about conduct that damages the property's reputation. Being falsely accused of being a predator apparently qualified. My commercial account started pulling contracts. Word travels fast in the construction industry, and nobody wants to be associated with that kind of liability. 3 jobs worth $180,000 in billings evaporated in 1 week. The general contractors who'd been calling me for bids suddenly had scheduling conflicts. The supply house that had given me net 30 terms for 6 years switched me to cash only. My accountant sent a polite email suggesting we reassess our professional relationship. Friends stopped responding. People I'd known since high school left me on red. My gym membership got mysteriously canceled. The guy who ran the coffee shop near my apartment, where I'd been getting the same breakfast sandwich for 3 years, suddenly couldn't make eye contact when I walked in. I stopped going. I kept sending messages to Brandon. Tried email when he blocked everything else. Sent him the complete evidence folder with every timestamp, every photo, every piece of documentation proving I'd been on site that weekend. Subject line, just please look at this. Delivery confirmed. Never opened. He'd decided I was guilty, and evidence was just noise. I stopped explaining on day 12, not because I'd accepted defeat, because I realized something sitting in my empty apartment surrounded by boxes I couldn't afford to move. Nobody who'd already chosen sides was going to look at proof. They didn't want truth. They wanted a villain, and I'd been perfectly cast. I didn't go back to my parents' place. That door was welded shut. I moved my stuff into a storage unit and crashed in my buddy Mike's basement on a folding bed. I paid him in cash and rewired his panel that looked like it had been installed during the Nixon administration. I spent the weekend organizing everything. Permits, inspections, badge logs with exact timestamps, progress photos, witness statements from the crew. Everything pointed to the same conclusion. I wasn't in Sacramento. I was on a job site 70 miles away, doing work that left a comprehensive paper trail. Monday morning, I called a lawyer. Not some big firm. Couldn't afford that. But my Uncle Paul knew someone who owed him a favor. Civil rights attorney, mid-30s, who did Title IX work and had a reputation for eating college administrators alive. She was already on her second coffee when I arrived at the diner. "Walk me through it," she said, pulling out a legal pad. I did. The whole thing. The accusation, the suspension, the family implosion, Brandon's social media crusade, everything. She spent 20 minutes going through my evidence. When she finally looked up, her expression was predatory. "This is bulletproof. You weren't there." I know. So why the heck are they still pushing this? Because admitting they were wrong means admitting they railroaded an innocent guy. The college, the administrators, my brother, they all went public fast and loud. Walking it back now makes them look incompetent or malicious. Easier to keep insisting I'm guilty and hope I slink away quietly. She nodded slowly. Here's what you need to understand. You have strong claims for defamation, tortious interference, maybe Title IX violations. Your brother made specific, false, damaging statements that cost you income and housing. The college violated basic due process. This will get ugly, it will take time, and it will cost them more than they're prepared to pay. I'm not going anywhere. Good. Then here's the play. We don't engage publicly. We preserve evidence, file the necessary complaints, and let them keep digging their hole deeper. Every time your brother posts, we screenshot it. Every time the college refuses to look at your evidence, we document it. When this goes to trial, we bury them in their own negligence. What about Brandon? What about him? He's out there calling me a predator. He's coaching the families. Let him. Every post he makes, every statement he helps craft, every time he doubles down without checking basic facts, it becomes evidence. The more certain he acts, The worse he looks when we prove he never verified anything. He's building your case for you. I liked her immediately. We spent the next hour going through next steps. Before I left, she gave me one more instruction. Send preservation letters to the college and to Dr. Helen. Put them on notice that they're required to preserve all documents, emails, and records related to this case. If they destroy evidence after that letter, it becomes a whole different problem for them. I sent preservation letters that afternoon, then filed complaints with the State Accreditation Board and the Department of Education. Started drafting the defamation lawsuit against Brandon. Nothing dramatic, nothing public, just bureaucratic machinery grinding into motion. Brandon kept posting long threads about believing victims, about how dangerous it was when families protected predators, about choosing moral courage over familial obligation. He wasn't even subtle about it. The whole thing boiled down to convict him first, ask questions later. Each post got screenshotted, logged, added to the file. He was building my case one self-righteous paragraph at a time, and he didn't even know it. The police investigation started 3 months in. They checked the competition records. My name wasn't on them. Checked the chaperone list, lodging, transportation logs. Nothing. Then they checked the hospital job. Found my permits, inspection reports, badge logs. Found 4 electricians who swore under oath I'd been on site all weekend. The detective called me in November. He sounded tired in that specific way cops get when they realize they've wasted months on nonsense. We've completed our investigation. I want you to know we found no evidence placing you in Sacramento that weekend. Your alibi is rock solid. We're closing this with no criminal charges filed. What about the accusations? Long pause. We're reviewing how those allegations were documented and who was involved in that process. That's all I can say. He hung up. I called my lawyer. She wasn't surprised. Perfect. Now we go after them. She'd been busy while I stayed quiet. Filed discovery requests, served subpoenas on the college, on Dr. Helen, on Brandon. The college fought it, claimed student privacy, institutional privilege, confidentiality protections. She tore through every objection like tissue paper. But first came the stonewalling. HR started ghosting. The college's legal team sent form letters. We cannot comment on ongoing personnel matters. When my lawyer requested the security badge logs from the hospital, they claimed technical issues made the data unavailable. The college tried to make it go away quietly. Their attorney reached out in December with a settlement offer. $50,000, mutual non-disclosure agreement, no admission of wrongdoing. The email had that desperate corporate smell. Make this disappear before it gets worse. My lawyer forwarded it to me with one word: laughable. She replied with our own offer: full reinstatement, public apology, $300,000, and Dr. Helen's termination. Or we go to trial and expose every procedural failure in discovery. They went silent for 3 weeks. Then a reporter from the local paper started asking questions. Someone had leaked the police findings. The college's PR office started putting out fires. Board members got nervous. Donors started calling. Suddenly, those unavailable hospital badge logs appeared with perfect timestamps. External pressure had done what my evidence couldn't, made them face reality. The discovery materials started arriving in January. Discovery answered the only question that mattered: how my name got attached in the first place. Dr. Helen had forwarded the Sacramento trip roster, and it was a recycled template from the previous year. My name was still on it. She treated that spreadsheet like gospel, then coached the girls until their statements matched the roster. Emails between Dr. Helen and Vincent discussing narrative management and controlling the story. Text messages between Dr. Helen and the students' parents about helping them organize their recollections. Multiple drafts of student statements showing significant edits and additions that clearly didn't come from teenagers. The accusers weren't malicious masterminds. They were kids. Kayla, 17, in the welding program, and Madison, 16, studying HVAC basics. Both had actually attended the Sacramento competition. Both had been approached by Dr. Helen afterward during what was supposed to be a routine feedback session about the event. Their initial statements had been vague, confused, uncertain. Then Dr. Helen got involved. One email from Dr. Helen to Kayla's mother stood out. I know she's having trouble remembering specifics, but sometimes trauma makes memories fuzzy. Let's try the timeline exercise we discussed. Walking through the weekend hour by hour can help things surface. Another to Madison's father. I think we have enough consistency now to move forward confidently. The statements align well. We just need to ensure the families stay committed to the process and don't waver under pressure. There were more. Pages of it. Dr. Helen guiding, suggesting, shaping every detail until the stories locked into place. But the most damning stuff came from Brandon's own digital trail. He'd been so convinced he was the hero that he documented everything. A message to Kayla's mother read, "I know your daughter is having second thoughts, but backing out now sends the message that if you pressure victims long enough, they'll fold. We need to show strength here." Another, "Don't let them fixate on timelines and alibis. That's just a distraction tactic predators use. What matters is the trauma, not the logistics." He'd saved everything. Every conversation where he'd helped them refine their statements. Every moment he'd prioritized his crusade over basic fact-checking. Every time he'd pushed back when doubt started creeping in. My lawyer scheduled depositions for February. Brandon went first. The deposition happened in a conference room that smelled like old coffee and desperation. Brandon sat across from me for the first time in 8 months. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes. His lawyer was some underpaid associate who kept checking his watch like he had somewhere better to be. My lawyer looked like a shark that had just spotted blood in the water. She started soft. Background questions. His relationship to me. His work in community advocacy. Then she shifted gears. "When did you first learn about the allegations against your brother?" "The college contacted me in late April. Asked if I'd meet with them to discuss a serious situation." "And what did they tell you in that meeting?" "That 2 students had reported inappropriate contact during a competition weekend." "Did they provide specific details about what allegedly occurred?" "No. They said privacy laws prevented them from sharing details without parental consent." "Did they tell you which competition?" "Skills USA Regionals in Sacramento, April 12th through 14th. "And did you, at any point during or after that meeting, verify that James had actually attended that competition?" Pause. Brandon glanced at his lawyer. The lawyer nodded slightly. "No. You didn't check the attendance records? Didn't verify the chaperone list? Didn't ask the college to confirm James had even been present?" "No." My lawyer let that sit for a moment. "James reached out to you after the accusation was made, correct?" "Yes." "And what did he tell you?" "He said he wasn't at the competition, that he had proof he was working a job that weekend." "And what did you do with that information?" "I told him I couldn't discuss it with him and ended the call." "Did you ask to see this proof?" "No." "He sent you documentation, didn't he? Permits, inspection reports, witness statements?" "He sent emails. I didn't open them." "Why not?" Brandon's jaw tightened. "Because I'd already made my decision based on the information the college provided." Looking at his defense felt like it would compromise my ability to support the victims. "Support the victims?" My lawyer repeated flatly. "Even if the alleged victim wasn't actually victimized by your brother?" "I thought the allegations were credible, but you didn't verify them." Silence. My lawyer let it hang there. The court reporter's fingers stopped. Brandon's lawyer shifted in his seat. The whole room could feel the weight of that admission settling like cement. "You posted on social media about this case multiple times, correct?" "Yes." "Public posts declaring your belief in the accusations and your decision to cut contact with James?" "Yes." "And you helped the families involved organize their statements, didn't you?" Hesitation. "I provided support and guidance." My lawyer slid a printed screenshot across the table. "This is a message from you to Kayla's mother. You wrote, and I quote, 'Don't let them focus on timelines and alibis. That's just a distraction tactic predators use.' Do you remember writing that?" Brandon stared at the paper. "Yes." "Were you aware that timelines might actually matter if, for example, the accused person wasn't present at the event in question?" At the time, I believed." "At the time, you believed verification wasn't important?" "I believed protecting the students was more important than getting caught up in technicalities." "Technicalities like whether your brother was actually there?" His lawyer objected. My lawyer withdrew the question and kept going. "You also messaged Kayla's mother, encouraging her not to let Kayla walk anything back, even after the student expressed uncertainty about her recollection. Is that accurate?" "I was trying to prevent her from being pressured into silence." "Or were you trying to prevent her from telling the truth when that truth became inconvenient for your narrative?" Objection. Withdrawn. "Let's talk about your testimony to the college board. You gave public comments, correct?" "Yes." "And in those comments, you stated that James was guilty and that the family should support the accusers over him?" "I stated that I believed the students and that accountability was necessary." "Accountability for something he didn't do?" "I didn't know that at the time." "You could have known. You chose not to, correct?" Brandon didn't answer. My lawyer leaned forward. "Brandon, did it ever occur to you that by publicly declaring your brother guilty, by helping families craft consistent statements, by encouraging them to ignore doubts and stay committed, did it ever occur to you that you might be participating in destroying an innocent person's life?" "No." "Why not?" "Because I've worked with victims for years. I've seen how often they get silenced and dismissed. I didn't want to be part of that system. So instead, you became part of a system that destroys innocent people without checking basic facts? Objection. The deposition went on for 6 more hours. My lawyer walked him through every message, every post, every statement he helped shape, made him explain each decision, each assumption, each moment he'd chosen certainty over verification. By the end, he looked destroyed. My lawyer had one final question. Brandon, if you could go back to April, would you have done anything differently? Long pause. Brandon's hands were shaking slightly. I would have verified he was there first. The deposition ended at 8 p.m. Brandon left without looking at me once. His lawyer pulled my lawyer aside in the hallway. I watched through the glass as they talked. The lawyer kept shaking his head. My lawyer's expression stayed neutral. When she came back, she had that look lawyers get when they know they've already won. He's going to settle, she said. He has to. His own words buried him. The college board meeting where everything fell apart happened on a Tuesday in March. They'd scheduled it as routine business, but word had leaked about the investigation findings. The room was packed. Parents, faculty, a handful of reporters, local activists who'd been supporting Brandon, and some family members I hadn't seen in months. My uncle Paul was there, my cousin Sophia, a few friends who'd stuck around. I'd asked them not to come, but Paul had said, "We're watching you get vindicated. We're not missing it." My parents sat in the back corner. My mom had that tight smile she wears when things aren't going her way. My dad looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Brandon was absent. His lawyer had probably told him to stay away. The interim college president, brought in from the district office after the scandal broke and Vincent resigned, opened with a prepared statement about transparency and institutional responsibility. The room went quiet. Then they read the findings. After an extensive review of the allegations made against James, including examination of work permits, inspection reports, security logs, and witness testimony, this board finds no factual basis connecting James to the alleged incident. James was not present in Sacramento on the weekend in question. He was, in fact, on a commercial job site in this city, performing licensed electrical work with multiple witnesses confirming his presence. Murmurs rippled through the room. Furthermore, our investigation revealed significant procedural failures in how the initial accusations were handled. Students were interviewed without proper protocols. Statements were edited and refined by college personnel in ways that compromised their credibility. Multiple administrative decisions were made without verification of basic facts. The interim president looked uncomfortable. James has filed civil claims against this institution, against Dr. Helen, and against his brother Brandon for defamation and related allegations. While we cannot comment on ongoing litigation, the college wishes to acknowledge that James was wrongfully terminated and that his professional reputation was damaged by institutional failures on our part. Someone in the audience shouted something. A reporter stood up. The president gavelled for order. "We are prepared to offer James a settlement in the amount of..." My lawyer leaned over and whispered, "Don't take it. We're going to trial on the defamation claims. Make an example." I nodded. Brandon's case went to trial in May. Civil court, not criminal. Money and reputations, not handcuffs. His lawyer tried everything. Argued good faith reliance on the college's investigation. Claimed his posts were protected opinion. Said he was trying to support victims and didn't have a legal duty to verify facts. My lawyer destroyed him. She walked the jury through every piece of evidence Brandon had ignored. Every message coaching families to ignore doubts. Every public declaration of guilt without checking if I'd even been in the same city. "This isn't about believing victims," she said in closing. "It's about what happens when belief becomes a weapon." Brandon didn't just fail to verify facts. He actively avoided them because they were inconvenient. He helped manufacture consistency in statements that were falling apart. He pressured families to ignore their children's doubts. He did all of this publicly, loudly, with absolute certainty. And he did it to a man who was 70 miles away on a commercial job site when this alleged crime supposedly occurred. The jury took 3 hours. Liable on all claims. $150,000 in damages for lost income, reputational harm, and emotional distress. Brandon's face was blank when they read the verdict. His lawyer tried to say something. He just stood up and walked out. The college settled the next week. $280,000, public apology, agreement to reform investigation procedures. The settlement required them to send formal correction letters to every single person in business they'd notified about the accusations. My landlord, every vendor who'd pulled contracts, the college department mailing list, the local contracting association, all on official letterhead stating that the allegations were unfounded, that I'd been wrongfully terminated, and that their investigation confirmed I wasn't present at the event. My lawyer called it reputational remediation. I called it watching them eat crow in writing. My old landlord called me 2 days later, apologized, offered to be a reference. 3 vendors who dropped me reached out about new contracts. The department chair who'd supervised my termination had to sign every letter personally. They also paid settlements to the families whose kids had been used as props in Dr. Helen's crusade. I don't hate Kayla or Madison. They were 17 and 16 when this started. Just kids who got pulled into something they didn't understand by adults who should have known better. Dr. Helen manipulated them. Brandon reinforced it. Their parents got coached into believing consistency mattered more than truth. The girls were confused, pressured, and surrounded by authority figures, telling them what to remember. I blame the adults who used them. Dr. Helen lost her license 4 months later. The state board found she'd coached students, manufactured evidence, and violated about 20 professional standards. She tried to appeal. It went nowhere. I didn't move to some new city to start fresh. Forget that. I rebuilt right here where everyone could watch. Used the settlement money to buy my own building. 4,000 square foot shop with office space and room for equipment. Hired back my old crew. Started bidding on the commercial jobs that had dropped me. Turns out a $250,000 settlement and a court judgment in your favor is pretty good advertising. Within 6 months, I was busier than before the nightmare started. My parents tried to reconcile in July. Showed up at the shop unannounced while I was running conduit for a restaurant renovation. I saw my dad's car pull into the lot and knew exactly what was coming. My dad started with, "We thought it was important to clear the air and discuss, get out of my shop." My mom tried her soft voice, the one she uses when she wants something but needs to pretend she's being reasonable. "James, sweetheart, we were just trying to do what we thought was right at the time. We didn't have all the information. You had the information. I sent it to you. You chose not to look at it because Brandon told you not to. That's not fair," my dad said. We were in an impossible situation. Family was divided. Emotions were high. Emotions were high because you let Brandon declare me guilty without checking a single fact. You backed his play because he's always been your golden child. And I've always been the disappointment who works with his hands instead of pushing paper in some corporate office. My mom's eyes got teary. "We never said that. You didn't have to. You showed it when it mattered." I went back to work. They stood there for another minute, then left. Haven't heard from them since. The family fracture never healed. Uncle Paul and cousin Sophia stayed in touch. Everyone else either chose Brandon's side or just went quiet. Fine by me. Blood doesn't mean anything when the people who share it throw you under the bus the first chance they get. Brandon tried to rebuild his advocacy career, but the court judgment followed him everywhere. Got fired from his nonprofit job 3 months after the verdict. Last I heard, he was working at some insurance company doing grunt work for $45,000 a year. His wife Karen left him in September. Took the house, the car, and the dignity he had left. I didn't celebrate. Didn't feel good watching him crater. But I didn't feel bad either. The real satisfaction came from watching everyone who'd been so certain, so righteous, so convinced they were on the right side of history. Watching them all have to eat their words and knowing they'd never admit they were wrong. It was a cold Saturday in October, almost 18 months after the accusation, when Brandon finally showed up. I was closing up the shop around 6 p.m. when his truck pulled into the lot. I recognized it immediately. Same beat-up Ford he'd been driving since college. He sat in the cab for a good 5 minutes before getting out. I kept loading tools into my service van like I hadn't noticed him. He walked over slowly, stopped about 10 feet away. "James?" I finished loading the drill kit before looking up. "What do you want?" He looked worse in person than I'd imagined. Thinner, older, worn down in a way that had nothing to do with age. I wanted to talk. About what? About everything. About what happened. About... He stopped. "I messed up. I know that now." I shut the van door and leaned against it. "You drove an hour to tell me you messed up? That's your big revelation?" "I'm trying to apologize." "You're trying to make yourself feel better. There's a difference." His jaw tightened. "I was wrong. About all of it. I should have listened to you. Should have looked at your evidence. Should have checked if I was actually there before declaring me a predator to the entire family. Yes. Should have verified a single fact before coaching families to ignore their kids' doubts. Yes. Should have considered even for 1 second that maybe your crusade was more important to you than the truth." He didn't answer that one. I pushed off the van. "You didn't just mess up, Brandon. You made a choice. You chose to believe I was guilty because it felt good, because it let you be the hero, because verifying facts was work, and faith in your own righteousness was easy. I was trying to help. You were trying to feel important, And when the evidence didn't fit your narrative, you just ignored it. I thought I was doing the right thing. No, you thought you were the right person. There's a difference. You've spent your whole life needing to be better than me. Smarter, more successful, more important. When those students made their accusation, you saw your chance. Finally had proof that you were the good brother, and I was the screw-up you always believed I was. His hands were shaking. That's not... You didn't verify I was there because deep down, you didn't want to. You wanted me to be guilty. It fit the story you'd been telling yourself since we were kids. The silence stretched between us like razor wire. I lost everything, he said finally. My job, my marriage, my reputation. I know that doesn't fix what I did to you, but nothing. You didn't lose those things because of what I did. You lost them because of what you did. Because you prioritized your crusade over basic facts, and when the truth came out, everyone could see exactly what you were. I'm trying to make this right. You can't. Some things don't get fixed with an apology 18 months late. You destroyed my life because it was convenient for you. You let mom and dad think I was a predator because it made you look better by comparison. You helped coach families to ignore evidence because you couldn't handle being wrong. I walked past him toward my truck. James, wait! I stopped but didn't turn around. You want forgiveness? You want closure? You want me to tell you it's okay and we can rebuild our relationship? I want to try. Then try this. Live with what you did. Live with the fact that you destroyed your brother over accusations you never verified. Live with the knowledge that when it mattered most, you chose your ego over the truth. Live with knowing that every person who praised you for being brave was praising you for being certain about something you never bothered to check. Don't call me again. Don't show up at my shop. Don't send letters or emails or messages through family members. We're done. I got in my truck and started the engine. Through the windshield, I could see him standing there in the parking lot, shoulders slumped, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. His hands were in his pockets. His head was down. He looked like a man who'd finally understood what he'd done and realized there was no fixing it. I drove away and didn't look back. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.